2020 Ford Mustang Shelby GT500 tricks of the trade. Still has not released performance figures for the other than to say horsepower exceeds 700 and torque exceeds 600 lb Ford. But engineers are eager to point out some of the tricks needed to harness all that power and ensure the most powerful Mustang to date can handle turns as well as going straight. The process involved. The 2020 Shelby GT500 goes on sale later this summer, joining the GT350 in the showroom, now in a 1-2 punch consumers have not seen before at a Ford dealership. The GT500 is billed as the quickest accelerating street legal factory to date, but actual numbers won't be released until closer to the sale date because engineers are still working to squeeze every last ounce of power out of the hand-built 5.2-liter cross-plane V8 engine with a 2.6-liter Intrimec dual-clutch 7-speed automatic transmission. Since inception, the young team behind the GT500 has been encouraged to use unorthodox thinking. With that mandate, reams of data were generated by having engineers and race car drivers take the car for a virtual spin, and the information was passed on to the designers before the first physical prototypes were built. More than 400. Ford used its advanced manufacturing center in Redford, Michigan, to print 3D parts which engineers took by the bin to race tracks for testing, sometimes making changes in the pits for blind tests to get feedback from the drivers. The car spent a lot of time at tracks, but before that there was a lot of testing in wind tunnels, including the Windshear Tunnel in Concord, North Carolina, the rolling road tunnel used by NASCAR, race teams, and automakers to get a better idea of drag under a vehicle with a low belly. Part of the aero work was done on a used GT350 that engineers salvaged and used as a buck, putting it on hydraulic actuators to create pitch, yaw, and other dynamic events to generate more data to share with the development team. It was mocked up to meet an ambitious aero goal. They went through 20 different hood vents and 15 different splitter wickers, and added underwing features to channel the air under the splitter extender. There are patents pending. In the end, the huge louvered hood vent started out at an eighth of its current 6.03 SQ foot size and snowballed to vent the volume of cooling air entering the engine compartment. The carbon fiber printed parts were also tested on the track. Engineers took for cooling. The front opening takes up the full face of the car to hide the two large radiators. It has a metal mesh. There are 6 heat exchangers, a unique water pump impeller, and a second thermostat that sends coolant to the auxiliary radiator. The auxiliary pricing has not yet been announced for the GT500.
Raindrop, drop top smoking, no cooking the hot pot. Fucking on your bitch, yeah, that. Looking up, open the park pot.